Hello everyone, Jerry here. Before I start painting, let me show you the moment that really stopped me near Pin Mill in Suffolk. Now, I was looking across the water and this Thames sailing barge was sitting there with its red sail up like a beacon. It had that rare combination of light, shape and stillness where you know instantly this is a painting. Now that first impression drives the whole composition. The barge becomes the anchor. The reflections pull the eye down the page, and the lighter buildings on the right give you a natural balance to the weight of the sail. Once those big shapes are in place, everything else can unfold quite simply. If you enjoy these full real-time tutorials and want more in-depth guidance, I share extra videos and behind-the-scenes pieces over on Patreon. It's a straightforward way to support the channel and get more of the longer lessons. So let's begin. First I'm going to start with the sky. Bring paintwork down. Now I'm using a number 4 Rosemary red dot collection mop brush, so you know exactly the brush I'm using here. Cobalt blue, just a little bit of cerulean blue as well in the mixture. This guy, I'm going to be, I'll call it a 3-piece sky, as I'm going to be doing it in 3 sections, which is the way I like to paint skies. If you're new to watercolor painting, you'll quite like this because it's a bit simpler than trying to do the wet into wet style. Now what I'm doing here is I've worked out where I want my cloud shapes, and this is the blue sky at the top of the painting. So it's a relatively strong mixture. You've got to bear in mind that blue's going to dry out a bit lighter, it fades a bit, which it takes a while to get used to this fact. Paint a lot of paintings not strong enough, and it's so much better to get your skies in with one wash if you can. As I'm bringing this down, just add a little bit of water. I want this to be lighter as it comes down, meets the sail. You've noticed that I've brought the sky down lower on the left hand side as well, where the barge is. This is purposely to silhouette the barge. Also to balance the painting, the left and right. This is very watery Payne's grey mixed in with the blue mixture there. Don't want this too strong. This is the next section of the sky. Just coming up close to where I painted the blue, but not actually touching it. It's fairly light, but I want it to be like that. And then the third section is really just coloured water with the grey colour. It will show up. I don't want this to be. Didn't want that to be white. Now with the cobalt blue, cerulean blue mixture, fairly strong. Going to dry paper starting to do the water. Left to right, leaving a few white lines, give the impression of movement in the water, small waves, ripples, that kind of thing, rather than just doing a straight wash over everything. Just give it some thought when you're doing these parts of the painting, like water. Unless you just are putting down a flat wash. Paint quite quickly, but just think about what you're doing as you bring the paint down. Again, I've made this lighter as it comes into the immediate foreground, a bit more blurred. Well, I was going to do the other way around, but not in this instance. This is Payne's Grey and Sepia. Add a little bit of Hooker's Green. And the brush I'm using is a number 12 Rosemary & Co. pointed round. This is the series 301. Much a traditional way of painting this. Now I've done the sky. Now I'm moving on to the distance. I've done this mixture very dark. I want this to silhouette the houses, that distant shore. And with this dark green colour, it can look very effective when the red roofs are done. Take note again of the connectedness of the painting, how the buildings on the right connected to the sailing boat on the left. Paper I'm using is Arches 140 pounds rough. It's a paper I like to use for the majority of my paintings. And my palette is a John Pike palette, which is great. It's got a big white plastic slab that I can mix my paints on, leave them on there, paint into paint. Absolutely love this palette. And recently I bought another one, which is slightly different in as much as it's got the paint on the shorter sides and the long side, so I can have the palette the other way around, if you know what I mean. So I'm going to start taking it with me on my expeditions. It's a bit bulky and cumbersome, but I like it so much that I think it's worth it putting in the bag. Still going with this dark mixture. Yeah, the only thing I found with taking this palette on some of my outside expeditions is that I have to make sure that the paint is actually dried a bit on here, because it's such a large palette, and if it's tilted on its side, if it's wet paint, some of the paint runs across into paint the other side, and time I get the palette out, I've got ready mixed colours that I don't want. So yeah, so I've learned from that one. I let dry the paints out a little bit. Actually, I put my hairdryer on them and dry them out when I go, and when I come back, sometimes put cling film over and then put the lid on. The lid's tight, but I don't think these are meant for taken outside. They're more studio palettes. Now I'm bringing in the far shoreline in a little bit of lavender. French ultramarine. See how the connections starting there, left to right, foliage and the distant trees. Wonderful scene, this, my favourites. Type of things to paint. I will be painting some more of these. I get quite excited painting this kind of scene. I think it's because that's what I started my painting life doing. Marine subjects, Thames barges, and I live quite close to a town called Malden in Essex in the UK, and that's these barges moored up there. Absolutely fabulous, especially when the sails are up. Now I'm using raw sienna, just raw sienna, nothing else. Still using the size 12 brush, and the raw sienna paint I use now is Jackson's own make, the artist quality. It's very good. I found it a good substitute for my old Winsor & Newton that I always used to use. Don't see a lot of difference colour wise. Keeping it simple. Now let's dry it off a bit, and using the light red switch brush, now gone to a size 8 Rosemary & Co. pointed round series 301. By the way, all this information will be in the description. It's on the lower part of this page. So there's no need to quickly write anything down. It'll be there for you to look at. Now bringing in the sails. You'll see I'm doing the big shapes first. This will hold the whole painting together. This. Bringing the wash down. Now I'm using the same mixture, light red, but I've just added a little bit of cadmium red, just to make the rooftop slightly different. Now these will look really attractive with the backdrop of the green trees behind. Red and green, great colours together. Now you can see the composition in this one, that the way I balance things with the sailing boat on the left hand side and the against the houses on the right hand side. They don't compete with each other, they just balance each other out, I think. Most of the elements in this painting, I've kept it fairly simple so that it'd be a good one to have a go at yourselves. Just doing some boat shapes here, doing the holes. You don't have to be perfect, just have to be just kind of a shape of a boat's hull in the distance. Not any particular kind of boat. And now using burnt sienna to do the hull first wash. Using it fairly neat. We'll be putting a couple of washes on here. This lighter one, I'll be darkening out later on when it dries. This is quite a quick painting. This one, it's only just over 30 minutes, I think. So not too long a painting. Now doing the reflections here with just a lighter mixture of that burnt sienna. That again, I'll be going over again. And then get doing the distant shore, just in a mixture of those siennas, really, a bit of raw sienna, burnt sienna. Doesn't matter how the ratio of each colour goes for this one. And then still working on these boat hulls I should say, not holes, hulls, in the distance. They're really only lines there, but for the viewer, your eyes will make that appear as a boat. And there's this there's a small cabin there, which is you don't really get on these on the bigger barges. And now this is dried in the distance, going over with a green mixture, some sap green and French ultramarine. You see how quickly the paintings come together. Now this is a very watery wash of Payne's grey. There's a little bit of French ultramarine. Just doing the shadow sides of these distant houses on the shore. And quite a dark mixture for the shadow on the roof. Just a little bit of bit of foliage showing down the sides of the houses there. Just thought I'd bring that in. I think I missed that before. I did the initial trees. Still using the size 8 rosemary pointed rounds. Dipping into the darks now, neutral tint. This is another Jackson's watercolor. Just taking out some pencil lines there. I'm quite happy with those ropes. Well, they're a bit too many of them on the left hand side there, so I got rid of them. Done quite easily because that was just white paper there, no paint on it. And then while I got the dark out, just doing these rocks that are in the immediate foreground. Not making too much of them, just a few dots and dabs. Just to make that interesting foreground there, that little bit of sand showing. Now, quite often when you're painting, if you think that you've gone too dark initially, just dab it with a tissue, take the colour out straight, as long as you do it straight away. And you can go again. That's the beauty of these quality papers that I use. You get the opportunity to manipulate the paper quite a bit and things like that. The water to stay, the paint to stay on the surface for a little while. With some of the less expensive papers, as soon as you put the paint on, it's sunk in, and it does make it quite difficult to paint sometimes, especially doing wide expanses, skies, seas, that kind of thing. Just going around doing a impression of some windows. Makes great for these darks. Neutral tint for these darks. Just doing the shadow front of this barge. Nice and dark. That barge is really starting to stand out now. I'm going to put another wash on this sails as well, I think. Just going around adding some shadows to the parts of the painting that need it. Distant boats. There's a little bit on houses there. Now I'm using a brush called a rigger brush. This is another Rosemary brush. This is a pure sable series 88. It's a #1 brush. Absolutely spot on brush for doing these ropes. As per the name of the brush, rigger brush for rigging. Just putting in the timbers holding this sail in place on the front of the boat. Need to darken that reflection up. So I've just switched brushes using the size 8, bringing that wash down. That looks much better. And then giving these sails another wash with light red. This is Winsor & Newton light red. I do prefer their light red. Just quickly going over, filling in the parts that are in light red. Not too far away now, this painting. Now my intention with the sailing barge was to leave some white lines where the rigging ropes were going across, and I'm not too sure I like that. I may change that at the end. I'll leave that for now. Now back to the rigger brush. This is the size 1 Rosemary Sable. Great brush. Holds just enough paint to put in a long line. Must load the brush up correctly first though. Roll that brush in. Get as much on the bristles as you can. And then confidently run those lines in. Don't be tempted to use a ruler. It's better to have a slightly wonky line than one done with a ruler. That with a loose painting like this, it just looks like somebody else has done the rigging for you. Lots of ropes on these boats. Haven't done them all. Here's a painting, not a replica. I don't really know that much about the parts of boats, not being a sailor. Quite a lot of detail in this. Barge on the left there is the focal point of the painting. And you see with these distant boats, I keep the boats in the distance a bit quieter really. Let that barge be the star of the show. Popping a signature on. And now removing the masking tape, pulling it away from the painting so I don't tear the paper. And I always put the masking tape on just before I actually do the painting, because if you leave it for a day or two, it starts to stick more. And there we go. That's the painting finished. Now what I really wanted to hold on to was that first impression that I had from Pinmill. The glow of that sailing barge, the calm water, and the balance between the weight of the sail and the lighter shapes along the shoreline. Once those big shapes were established, everything else just followed that initial idea. Now if you'd like to go deeper with these full-time, real-time tutorials, I'll share extra videos, behind the scenes pieces and more detailed guidance over on Patreon. Now it's a simple way to support this channel, and it helps me keep producing these longer lessons for you. Well, that's it for now. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.